Well, good afternoon and Happy New Year to each and every one of you. It is an exciting thing just to know that we have stepped off into 2018. 2018 is not only the year of continuous, but it's the year of achievement. My name is Raymond Hall, and you tuned in to the Raymond Hall Show. We are in a technical time where things can be viewed all over the world. So to all of the persons all over the world that may be tuning in to the Raymond Hall Show, we welcome you. To those of you that was a part of the Raymond Hall family last year, we sure do thank you for tuning in to the show. Our show banner is A Different Conversation, and I guess when I first started the show, we thought that was unique, a different conversation. But now you hear so much foolishness, it seems like you can have all kinds of different conversations all over the place. But our different conversation is a different conversation to promote people to think about those things that are really important. Service is our banner here. We talk about the service given that has helped to build communities and helped to build this nation. Now, my contribution through service, your contribution through service, my time of contribution and your time of contribution may be different. We're going to talk about that later in the show. But the key to this whole thing that I have found is service, and to be mindful of service and those who serve. 2017, we saw things that we thought that we never would see. We heard them being spoken of in 2016, and we gave some attention, little attention, much attention, no attention, and then they materialized in 2017. Well, how much of that materialization was because of either you gave service to make it happen or you did not give service to keep it from happening? This is not a show where we take a political opinion on anything. It's a position that we take a stand on in service. My period of service in the military was from 1971 to 1973 as a United States Marine. And I tell everyone, I went in service a private and I came out a private. It's just that I'm one of those people that's going to ask you a question. If you give me something to do, I'd like to let that make some sense to me. So the experience of being a Marine has helped to shape my life today, but it did not shape me as a career Marine. I am ever more thankful for the experience of being a Marine. I thank those persons that are serving now all over the nation. Hurrah to the Marine Corps, but thank you to each and everybody else that's serving actively in the military. That's the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and those persons that protect the Coast Guard here in the homeland, the Coast Guard as well. So service is our topic. A Different Conversation is our banner. We focus and highlight seniors because they are the clear demonstration. You can look at some seniors and some veterans and have a clear demonstration of what an example of service is. Those persons who are commendable. If you are given a command to do something and that is your assignment and you do it, that, is a portion or measure of service. If you see something in your community that requires your attention, so that it will be equity or justice or access in the community, that is a measure of service as well. If you have a neighbor that it looks like this flu is going, or whatever it is going on all over the place, but a neighbor, a bowl of soup, that's a measure of service. But the kind of service that needs to be reminded here is sometimes the kind of service that's difficult. Every time service is not going to be comfortable, and every time you're not going to get the accolades for giving service. Sometimes your service is going to be looked upon as something that you rightfully should do, or something that maybe you should not do, but you know that it's the right thing in your heart to do. So neighborly service is service that's given to your neighbor. Community service strengthens the community, and the nation is but a collective of communities. The Native Americans, we stand on the land that they roamed many eons of time before the European got here. And then different people came through different ways. The black man came through slavery, but look at the contributions and look at where they are today. The European man, the Hispanic American, when you get down to it, it's all today Americans making contributions. It's good to have a posture as a black man to have an understanding of the contributions of those persons who came from a foreign land in servitude. Not of their free will, in servitude, but still they gave service. I am amazed each and every time how a people could come and still give service, give the best of them. At one time, this was an agricultural nation. It was because of the agriculture, the cotton, the tobacco, the sugar, and those kind of things. And it was those people that were bought over as slaves that knew how to farm this land to make it a very rich economy in growing those things. Other contributions have been made at other periods of time. So this is not a show that features on anything other than the contributions that is required for this nation to continue to be able to afford the liberties that it affords. We're here in Southern California. We're broadcasting out of Morris Media Studio. I want to reach out to the engineer and friend, Miss Felicia Morris, and her dad. I'll always be forever thankful to him each and every day that I'm here, because he is my mentor and friend. He's the one that encouraged me to move forward and was kind to me when I didn't know what moving forward was. So we're here in Southern California, but the thing about service is this. We can talk about something in Southern California, and today we will be talking about something that happened in one part of the country, but it infected the entire part of the country. And when we looked at it at that time and thought how horrific it is, we're revisited by another part of the same story. So we want you to stay tuned so you'll know what we're going to be talking about. But it's something that we all are, or should all be, aware of. Service is the key. You're with the Raymond Hall Show. Different Conversation is our banner. Make sure that you have some service in your life, because if you don't have service in your life, somebody's going to have some service that's going to include you in their plan for service. So we're going to take a little break, and we're going to be right back in a minute or so. And when we come back, we are going to address the first subject matter of 2018. Happy New Year, everyone. Look forward to seeing you back in a few minutes. All right. Thank you so much. And boy, that was some nice music. And thank you for returning. You're here with Raymond Hall. This is the Raymond Hall Show. We first started in 2015 and had to take a break medically. And we came back in 2017 here at Morris Media here in Leimert Park. I want to share something with you. This show started because of the voice of seniors and senior age veterans. They have given so much. They've served so much. We are in a highly technical time now, so we see things, and because we see so much, we get a little desensitized to what war really means, what human carnage really means. But we're at the very end of a population. There's a number there, but they're dwindling fast of the World War II veteran. The World War I veteran is gone, and the Vietnam and the Vietnam era veteran is now well into that senior age, 60, definitely past 60, but in the 65 year bracket, 65 years or older, what I'm trying to say. I need to share something with you. The reason for this show is to give voice to those whose voices are a little softer now, and their steps are a little slower now because of age. It seems because of our time that everybody is in such a hurry that sometimes not those seniors that are fortunate to have family members and finances to where they are secure, but those seniors who may be having a time financially or having a time medically or those kind of things, they need to know that we, the community, remember their service, because of their service, we are at liberty to be able to do the things that we do. Just imagine if the outcome would not have been what it was during World War II. Imagine that if the whole thing shifted. Yes, we all, from the places, from the corners, from the places that we stand, we can look at something and say, well, that's not right. Well, that helps them more than it helps me. Well, that does something better for Tuesday than it does for Wednesday. And I'm a Wednesday kind of guy, or I'm a Wednesday kind of lady. Well, look at something from a different perspective. Here are a group of people that served in harm's way, served with nothing else in mind other than their service was going to count and make a difference, so that the homeland to which they are a part of would have a liberty to be able to continue. And what do we do with that liberty? Do we recognize them for their service now that their voice is a little softer? Do we recognize them as those veterans that were willing to stand at a front line, it's a misnomer sometimes that when you're wounded, that they send you home. That's not necessarily the case. You can be wounded on the battlefield. They can patch you up and send you right back. And oftentimes during World War II, that was more the case than not. We have the benefit of the time to people to be able to understand post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. But at that time, they didn't understand it. It's been called everything from old soldier's disease to a whole bunch of other names. But now they have diagnosed it and looked at it and understand what the effects and what the cost of wars are to those who participate and are active in those wars. So here we are, in a nation, without question, that has a certain amount of freedom and liberty throughout the world that some nations don't even envision, and then other nations have liberties as we do. But are we kind to those who made those liberties possible? Are we mindful of those who made those liberties possible? Do we see a need to stop and say to someone and truly mean it, thank you for your service? And if you have the ability to do more than just say thank you, if you can get up out of a seat and let a veteran or let a senior sit down, if you can open a door while someone goes in a door, what difference is it going to make if you let a senior or someone that's disabled get in front of you? How many seconds is that going to take off of your life? This is the Raymond Hall show, and it's a different conversation. Those who are at the Academy Awards can speak for themselves because they're on the red carpet. Those who are at the White House, they can speak for themselves because it seems like they do what they want to do anyway. Never mind the Constitution, never mind the preamble. It don't mean a thing to the people that decide that they want to do what they want to do. But there is a community, and there are people who recognize that it is the service of us that counts more than the foolishness of them. But you got to remember those persons who gave you the liberty to say, I will be of service. Where's your heart? Where's your head? Where's your ability to serve? We'll be talking about a certain young lady that has my heart. I won't say took my heart. I had a heart transplant, so I'm trying to hold on to it as long as I can. But she has my heart. Because with her short life, she gave life. Now here we are. Some of us up in age. Can we count any meaningful service that we have given? A service that has helped someone across the community or across the nation? A service that has spawned or urged someone to get up and be of service and do something? What is it that you have a talent for? What is it that you have an ability for? What is it that you can look and see and say, I can understand how to do that. I know how to address that issue. Mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, uncles and aunts, is it important to have the children to understand why it's important to stay in school? And when did it get to be acceptable for any of us to buy a pair of pants that's 3, 4, 5 sizes too big? Fad is one thing, but fashion is another. Service. When you help a child, you add health to the community. When you help a senior, you add a degree of respect to the community. Let everybody go to their house and pull out your car, pull your Mercedes and your Chevys and your Fords out, and everybody wash their car. And if nobody speaks to each other, what does that community look like? But if everybody walks out of their house, and if they're picking up their newspaper, that may be a thing of old, I'm telling my age now. But if they walk out and just see their neighbor and speak and say good morning, what does that say about that community as opposed to everybody pulling out a fancy car and start washing on it? The preamble was written before any of us was here. Even the framers didn't understand what they were really writing because they included a people that they didn't think that they were including. But today is the preamble to the Constitution. And you can stop after a few words. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union. I may not have a union at all with a Klansman, alt-right, not neo-Nazi. They're here, I'm here. But if some kind of way there was a ability to communicate where we would be able to say, you know something, we don't agree with each other, we don't like each other, but at least we will stop long enough to listen to each other, that maybe we will find a bridge of communication. That's where that more perfect, in order to form a more perfect. In other words, it's work that still needs to be done, and it's always going to be work that still needs to be done. The person that has a gazillion billion dollars, they don't have to tell you they don't like you. They just take their gazillion million billion dollars and stay up on the hill, and they ain't got to see you. They don't even have to hire you. They don't even have to know that you're on the earth. So the Raymond Hall Show is here to remind everyone the importance of service, because there are few things to this earth that is an equalizer to all. Ecclesiastes talk about a day of death and a day of birth. That's one. Somebody wrote something that says taxes. Well, okay, we used to think that was two, but 45 don't really go by those things. But one thing that is equal is service. Because the service that is given by a person with meager means and true service given by a person with many means is service that will give benefit to others. And that's the service that's important. Okay? So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we all are giving service and that we all are doing things and making contributions in ways that is going to benefit a neighbor. Okay. The origin of this show is while I waited for that heart transplant in and out of the hospital with varying degrees of heart failure. Oftentimes, it was the kindness of others those 6 years. They couldn't heal me. They couldn't give me a heart transplant. But I met many men and women who were professors at universities, and they were teachers, and they were builders, and they were educators and engineers, and no one knew their story. People who built this nation. The nation didn't just get built by we're going to build a nation. No, this nation is built on the fact that someone in one community gave service and someone in another community said, you know something, that service is good. Let us do that service in our community too. So that service spread from community to community, and collectively as communities, we formed the nation. So if it has not started and it's something that required, it's the service of you that's required in order to get that started. So here was these men and women who had given all of this service in their communities and no one knew it. And I kept seeing this thing about a senior salute. Somebody should tell their story. Somebody should tell their story. And from the senior salute came the Raymond Hall show. We just need to talk about service. Someone said to me, oh, Raymond, you young people, they're not going to want to hear about service and this and that. Well, I'll tell you something. Everybody has somebody in their family, or everybody knows somebody that might be a senior or might be a veteran. And if you're not a veteran or if you're not a senior, you can still learn by learning what they go through so you can be able to assist those that's in your life. The system you give them may be just to listen to them. Service is the key, ladies and gentlemen. Service is the key to a nation at liberty. We're going to take another quick break, and when we take that quick break, we're going to come back and talk about someone that has my heart. We'll be right back. You're listening to The Raymond Hall Show. Okay, and we are back. Thank you for staying with the Raymond Hall Show. As I said to you earlier, I had something on my heart. This is 2018, but each and every day that we have is connected one to another. And I thought it was significant that in the last days of 2017, this would be a part of the record. I want to read you something, and this came from The Root. So if you want to look up the article, the title of the article is "The Casualty of Outrage Because Erica Gardner's Family Won't Talk to White Journalists." Now, you can go ahead and read the article. The article is written by Michael Harriot, and it's written in The Root, and it's found on the internet. Just a little background. This is the daughter of Eric Gardner, who was brutally murdered in New York City. We tend to think that one thing is not connected to the other when it's all connected. But this 27-year-old who raised her voice in service, this 27-year-old says, "I will not be turned away from the liberty that I've been afforded to be able to speak to injustice. I will not have my energy drowned by those that think because their mass is bigger than mine, that the energy of my understanding will be silenced." She passed away December the 30th of 2017. And in reading the article, you're going to see where they talked about she was asthmatic and she had heart failure. She died of heart failure and a whole lot of things. But I'm not going to get into that. I want to talk to you about something else. I want to talk to you about where's your service. Here's a young lady, 27 years old, that once again we see demonstrations of service. Someone who says, "I understand that there is something larger than me to this earth. And I will lend my time, I will lend my talent, I will lend my understanding, and I will lend my wisdom to be able to speak with the power of this thing that's bigger than me to address something that is causing injustice in the community to which I'm a part." And just like they have the hashtag Me Too, I got it. But there's a hashtag Me Too when it comes to the brutality that's afforded certain communities when other communities are given passes. At 27, her service is clearly visible. Her father was brutally murdered. And it was a murder inside of the policies and practices of an organization. And don't think I'm singling out any organization, because the policies and practices are the same throughout the nation. But where are the voices that's raising up? We need more voices to raise up. We need to use the energy that we have from others to have energy to speak over into tomorrow. Where do we continue to turn our head in 2018? Remember, if you turn your head in 2018, someone that should take a seat at Harvard won't make it there in 2038 because you turned your head 20 years earlier. When is it enough to say enough is enough? We don't want no more communities where you got to put jail bars on our elementary schools. You understand my position about guns. I don't want to hear a frivolous conversation about guns, kill guns. A gun is made by a human being. A human being has his hand on that mechanism that pulls that trigger, that causes that instrument to fire. Silliness is just what it is. Murders is what it is. To devastate communities of young people, to not allow fathers to be able to take positions to raise their families, and then to publicly murder someone under the color of authority. And then you want to turn in all day long and look at certain shows to see what the president doing. He's doing what he's supposed to do. Keep you looking at the White House because you ain't looking at your house. There was something about Erica Garner. She was unequivocally not going to bow down to a system that harmed her family. And with the energy of her, and with the talent of her, and with the power of her, she spoke to that matter. So it doesn't really matter to me who can speak. Anybody speaking is everybody speaking, and everybody speaking means that we're going to be able to get some kind of focus on this thing. See, there was a time when things were tried to be rationalized. Now they do things with impunity. You just walk up to somebody and tell them put their hands on the wall, and because they don't, you start choking them to death. And the man tells you he can't breathe, and then you just, and now we lose his daughter. Okay. So let's have a different conversation. How good was your Christmas? Some people can't breathe. How happy was your New Year? This is the Raymond Hall Show. This is a different conversation. None of us are going to be here for all of time. You might as well take the life that you have and do something with it and make a contribution to say, you know something, I was satisfied with whatever I was given. I did something with it, and I did it not with me in mind, but with the person in mind that comes after me. Look around you. You don't have to go across town for it. Look around you. You don't have to go across the state for it. Look around you. You don't have to do like what was done before, where there's 100,000 people at the Lincoln Memorial. And we all like marching. We all like all of the things that we do. But sometimes you just need to take a walk, take a march to your own consciousness, and let your consciousness say to you, here is where you take a stand. And that place where you take a stand, you raise your voice. And where you raise your voice, you are going to invite understanding to be in the audience of your voice, and that's where your contribution to those in the community and to a greater society is. Liberty has no legs if you don't get up and walk. Justice has no feet if you don't get up and move. When they say justice is blind, she's blind. It's your eyes that allow justice to see. And when justice doesn't see, injustice has binoculars looking all over the place. So don't come and get your neighbor and wake them up in the middle of the night when injustice comes to your door, because you didn't have time to use your feet and to use your legs and to use your understanding when it came to justice for someone else. Erica Gardner is a young lady at 27 years old, gave everything she could to speak about an injustice, and she spoke until she could not speak no more. And now she is continuing to speak with a new breath, and it is the breath of you and I. I would say this is Raymond Hall of the Raymond Hall Show, and I got it off my chest, but it's going to stay on my chest because it's going to stay on my understanding. But we'll be right back with those closing remarks. Thank you. And we are back. Thank you again for staying with us. This is the Raymond Hall Show. I'm your host, Raymond Hall. And we were talking about Erica Garner, 27 years old, and she made a major contribution to the world. But she's not the only one. In 2017, we lost so many people, and so many people rightfully took their seat in the wall of service. So if you know someone that made a difference in your life, reach out to us and let us know what that person did. You can follow us on our social media on Facebook or Twitter. Just go to the Raymond Hall Show and you'll see the various social media platforms that we have out there. I, again, want to speak a moment or two about Morris Media Studios. We're located here in the Leimert Park area. It's a historic area, the Leimert Park area of Los Angeles. And this is to the community here in Los Angeles. If you're thinking about broadcasting, they have a world-class studio here with all of the amenities. So make sure that you support your community by doing business in your community. That's not just buying shoes and shirts and those kind of things. But if your vision require promotion, then look at what today's promotion looks like. Oftentimes we have guests here at the Raymond Hall Show, and we're looking to have exciting guests in 2018. Our guest next week we will be focusing on the California senior legislature, and here again they've chosen 10 proposals that they will be talking to the regular California Assembly about to see if those proposals can be picked up and carried forth to bills. It would enhance the quality of life for those seniors living here in the state of California. Now, I mentioned that because we have the potential to go worldwide through this technology, and maybe you can look at something that the California senior legislature does here in California, and maybe that's something that you might want to pick up and do in your state and in your community as well. So we try to have guests that will bring information, or guests that will be able to talk to us about issues that are relevant today. I invite you. There is no place for foolishness when wisdom gets busy. So let's pay attention to those that programming, not just the Raymond Hall Show, but let's pay attention to all of the program that adds value to us by talking to us about quality of life issues. Recently, I was in the in the VA hospital there in Long Beach, and it's amazing to me how they care for so many veterans with so many different things. I thought my issue was complicated, but here's what I do know, that when the right people pay attention and look at something, then there is a resolution for it. So I want to give a shout out to all of those men and women there at the VA Hospital Long Beach. Especially, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Eddie Gibbs at the Patient Advocate Office, and the young man that I had the pleasure of meeting that got up from his desk in the Chief Executive Office and went down to Patient Advocate. And he said this. He said, well, let us get up and go and see how we can straighten this out. And he didn't stay at his office and try to work it out from that floor. He came down, and by the time we left that office, the issue was resolved. The men and women who provide care in the trauma centers and the emergency rooms and up on the floors, and the people who are in the cafeterias and everything. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a volunteer segment there at the VA hospital in Long Beach, and they are at most of the VA hospitals. So if you have the talent or the time to volunteer, go out and be of service. Christmas is just a special time. Every time I go out there or am out there on Christmas, there's so many wonderful things that people think of to give service to say thank you to veterans around Christmas and Thanksgiving. So to all of those persons, especially the people that were so kind to me this Christmas, I just want to say thank you. People who serve are people who are a value to the nation. If you want to talk about jewels, children are the heart of the nation. Our children is special. That's the heart of the nation. We love kids. But seniors are the jewel of the nation. And the reason I say that is that you can take coal and keep it in the ground and it goes through so many things. I'm not a chemist or anything like that, so I can't tell you what coal goes through to become a diamond. But through time, that coal can become a diamond. So through the course of time, through the course of service, that the Mother Earth gives service to this coal, and this coal becomes a diamond. So too the process of the service that people give with their lives, and now they're seniors and they become this diamond, this jewel for all to see in the community, because it is the service of them that has added the value to their community. So whether we're talking about the Department of Veterans Affairs, or whether we're talking about a senior center or a community center or a neighbor or something, let that senior or that veteran or that neighbor, let something have value to you, that you will be able to add value to their lives as well. So next week, we're looking forward to having a conversation on the California Senior Legislature. My dear friend, Mr. Derek Williams, who provides service through helping people get past barriers. He'll be returning with us through the time. We have a number of guests. It's just a matter of posting them up. So we'll be letting you know when someone will coming, so you can mark that to make sure that you stop and take time and look at that show. We always try to raise 3 points with our guests and let them have 3 takeaways, because we want it not just to be a conversation of talk. We want to raise 3 significant issues, and we want our viewing and listening audience to be able to take away from 3 takeaways. You can go to the web and you can reach me. You can see the numbers to reach me. They're posted there. I'm getting a little up there, so I just can't remember all of the numbers attached to me to be able to call them out. But you will see we'll see my email address, and you will see the number to contact me. If you have a suggestion for future shows or future issues that we need to address, let me know. Seniors and veterans is the focus of our show, but we do address each and everything. Now, to those who have served, we thank you. To those who are actively giving service, whatever the kind of service is, we want to thank you, and we want to ask you to continue. And to those who would consider service, in your consideration, take you out of the equation. Put in the equation people not yet here. Put in the equation people whose voices are softened or whose energy levels are lower, and you be their arms, you be their hands, you be their voice, you be their eyes to help them to see what they need to see. Service is not how much money you make on your paycheck for you. Service is what you do for someone else. So give some service. I want to mention the fact that if you don't give service, they help someone else, someone is going to give service that's going to have reign and control over you. Everybody's saying that they voted. Well, what did you vote for? If you didn't vote, that was your service too. Think about it like this. When you personally don't vote, a lot of people suffer. So if you had voted, would that suffrage be laid at your feet? See, we don't know, but your conscience know. We don't know, but your understanding know. You thought it wasn't going to touch you until somebody told you, well, they cutting this out and they cutting that out. How do you think that they're going to pay for all of these cuts and building up a military? I'm all for a strong military and defense and everything else. But how do you think that they're going to pay for all of those new submarines and new ships and everything else? They've been hollering welfare reform for 30 years, and every time they holler welfare reform, they take some more money out of the people and take more services away from the people and take more things that help a community, because the people say things right in front of you. They talk about the middle class. I want to ask you a question, and it's kind of funny, but it's not funny. They start with the middle class, but what about the low class and the no class? Which one of those? I know I'm either in the low class or no class, because I ain't in the middle class. What is the middle class? Somebody want to count it, say, oh, if you make this amount of dollars, you in the middle class. I'm thinking about your character. I'm thinking about the posture that you take as a human being on what is the right thing to do. Humane, as in neighborly. So maybe the person with the $1 billion is a low class or no class, and he got $1 billion. Maybe the person with the $1 trillion is low class or no class. They got $1 trillion. Does everything you see from your elected officials say that they are upper class and middle class? Or it just seems like a whole lot of out of control, low class, no class people? Well, this is the Raymond Hall Show. It's a different conversation. I'm thankful that God has given me the voice that he has given me, because I can only speak about the things that I have experienced to speak about. Tune in with us next week. Our time of air is from 2 to 3. I thought about moving us to early in the morning so we could catch the traffic, and the engineer told me, well, Mr. Hall, they can log in and see you anytime. So we're going to just stay with where we are. I love each and every one of you. Please be kind to yourselves by being kind to someone else. We'll see you right back here next week on the Raymond Hall Show. Until then, have a conversation that makes a difference and let your service speak. Have a good night.